are so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Brought to you by Stetson Ranches out of Fromberg, Montana. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Wednesday. Halfway through the week already. Last week of July, the summer is gone fast. I can't complain about this week. We got some rain last night. Apparently they finally got these fires kind of halfway under control, and hell, even the smoke kind of blew out this afternoon, and you can finally see the mountains in the background. So that was a blessing. I love a good rain. We didn't get much, but apparently it was just enough to do some real good, and thank God for that. That smoke was getting about intolerable, I guess. Really cool episode for you today. Got a fella you may know. He's got a pretty big following on Instagram. He's out of Weatherford, Texas. Buster Frierson. He was a ranch manager for, I believe he said, 16 years. And you never know what you're gonna get with, I guess, with social media personalities. And I after talking to him, I don't consider Buster to be that at all. He's just he's a good guy. And he's just an old cowhand, and well, we had a great conversation, and it's really it's refreshing to meet somebody, and they turn out to be just cool like you'd expect them to be. So I was really glad to visit with him, and you're gonna like this conversation. Talked about a whole lot of different things. We talked about cattle, we talked about horses, talked about buffalo even, and told some pretty good horse and cow wreck stories in the Patreon segment. So if you're not subscribed on Patreon, go over to patreon.com/burningdaylight. You get bonus content like we have today. And you also get entered into some drawings that I do. We're giving away a horn cap and a silver money clip from Tracie Morrison out of Chelsea, Oklahoma this month. And we just got some cool stuff that we give away. So if you'd like to sign up for that, like I said, patreon.com/burningdaylight. But that all being said, I know you're wanting to hear from him. I had plenty of requests for it, so let's get into the show with Mr. Buster Frierson.
Burning daylight, burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Well, life is just a gather, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Burning daylight.
Welcome back, Daylight Burners. Got a real special guest today. I've been wanting to talk to this fella for a while, but everybody's busy and nobody knows who anybody is on the internet. You see everybody, but nobody really knows anybody. But we took a few people requesting you, but we got Buster Frierson out of Weatherford, Texas on the show. You may have seen him around the internets, and he's got a lot of irons in the fire. day working cowboy, also a rancher, and part owner of Bison Union up in Sheridan, Wyoming. So, Buster, how the hell are you, man?
Man, I'm great. I'm great, man. I appreciate you having me on. Appreciate being a part of it. And
yes, sir.
Shoot, I'm telling everybody I'm better than I deserve for the way I live. So I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. I'm damn sure better than I deserve. I can promise you.
Yes, sir. I relate to that very well. It's cowboying is not for the weak of heart or the weak of body. I mean, if you're weak in heart, you get weeded out real quick. And if you're weak in the body, you'll get weeded out eventually. And you might make it a little longer, but you got to be tough all the way around. And some might say just maybe even more than a little bit dumb, but hey, we won't focus on the dumb part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Little more than this. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
You gotta be.
Well, that's the only time we'll mention the dumbness, because we like to play smart.
Well, it won't take long. They'll figure out I'm pretty dumb just by listening to the conversations. Oh,
I know. Same here. I keep getting told like you get a lot more sponsors if you'd clean up your act a little bit. But I was like, if I cleaned up my act a little bit, nobody'd want to listen to me. So
yeah, it's like who you want me to be? That's what I tell somebody. I'm like, hell, it's easy to be Buster. I can't be nobody else.
Right? So, yeah, and
you just gotta deal with it.
Yeah, and I had a couple of guys start a podcast after listening to mine, and they're just like, well, I don't want to be competition to you. And as a man, you're no competition. I think more cowhands talking cowhand stuff is the best deal, and you're not going to out Matt McKinley. So
there you
don't try to be me. Try to be you, and you'll be good.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah,
I pick you all the way around. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you're out of Weatherford. You were born and raised down there?
No, I was actually kind of born, not kind of. I was born out west of Abilene, northwest of Abilene,
Okay.
I grew up around Roby, Rotan. I went to high school in Roscoe. If anybody knows, I mean, a lot of people don't know where that is, but Roscoe, Sweetwater, Roby, Rotan is kind of about an hour and a half northwest of Abilene, Texas.
Okay.
Roscoe's a little more due west. Roby, Rotan's kind of northwest. So I grew up in that part of the world. Small town, dirt roads,
ranch country.
Yeah, it's more, a lot of ranch country, but kind of farm country, I mean, I had a guy tell me one time, but, he said, oh, you're from over there. You're a cotton farmer. I said, yeah, man, there's a lot of cotton farmers around there, but I'm not a cotton farmer. There's still quite a bit of country around there too. I mean, ranch country, Buster Welch country back over kind of north of Rotan. That they call it Rough Creek. There's a reason that it's called Rough Creek. I mean, it's some pretty nasty, gnarly, big country right through there. The Double Mountain Ranch is Sammy Ball's old ranch. It's right there as well. I mean, there's some cool old ranches that if you don't get off the interstate, you just, it looks like farm country. You pull off the interstate 20 miles and it's pretty nasty, gnarly old country,
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I came to Weatherford, I guess. Back in the late 90s, I moved up this part of the world, and I've been here ever since. So when somebody asks me where you from, I just tell them Weatherford. I've been here just damn near as long as I've lived out there growing up, so.
Yeah, at this point, I'm originally from southeast Colorado. I was about 60 miles just north of the Panhandle there. So, I moved out here. My wife's from Nevada, and found a little feedlot out here, and it's it's a lot of the same stuff from back home, but there's mountains all around. Eastern Colorado is not known for mount. I mean, you say you're from Colorado, and everybody thinks high Rocky Mountains, and I guess we're about 3 hours from the foothills, but it's Eastern Plains about as flat as it gets. So
yeah. Whereabouts right there in Eastern Plains?
Walsh, Colorado. It's
okay.
Literally as far southeast as you can get.
Yeah, I got some friends that are, Hugo right into there. Daryl Waite, Tina Waite, and good friends of mine. They run a pretty good size outfit out there. It's right there around Hugo, Colorado. So
I don't know them, but I know who they are. Like I know I've got some buddies from up there, Carville, Hugo area, and then it's a small world once you get into southeast or southern Colorado. You know, it's kind of everybody knows a little bit of everybody.
Well, and I think it's, to go even a step further than that, I think it's a pretty small world, just the circle that we live in. The cowboy circle.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You get to talking to somebody, you're like, so-and-so, oh, yeah, I know, where you live, this, that, and for a minute, here in a minute, you're like, yeah, hell, I know that guy, that's my cousin. Yeah, he said he knew you. Yeah.
And then inevitably somebody say, that's a crazy son of a bitch over there. And you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. I know that guy. Yeah.
It's pretty wild once you dive into it. And, I didn't know much about the buckaroo stuff till I moved out here, but then you get to talking to some of those guys and they'll talk about all the Texans and New Mexicans that they worked with or how they've been out in Nebraska and Dakotas and whatnot. And it's, there's a lot of country that runs cattle, but and then there's quite a few hands down in the Southeast and then even up in like Minnesota, and you wouldn't think of Minnesota as big cow country, but there's quite a few hands up there too, and that has truly been the coolest thing about starting this podcast, and in particular, with the focus on the working cowboy rather than the rancher or the rodeo cowboy or everything. It's the ranchers, they get some credit, not a lot, but they do get some. The rodeo guys get a lot of attention, and for good reason. They put asses in the seats, so I mean, there's a reason they get attention. And but the working guys, they just go out, they do their job, and they might get a good paycheck. More than likely, they're going to get starvation wages. But hey, we choose to do that.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's but it's cool just seeing how different the cowboy world is, but yet at the end of the day, you're a guy on a horse pushing a cow around, and or trailing a cow around, depending on the situation. But it's sure is a fun life, and it's funny that people actually pay pretty good money to come do what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no doubt. It is. It's crazy to you and I, but it's something that people long for, that they want. They want to, they've seen it their whole life on TV or, magazines or movies or whatever it is, and they grew up with watching black and white Westerns, and it's just something people like that aren't around it. They crave it. They want it. They like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, and you and I, we go do it every day. And wish we'd get paid more to do what we're doing, So,
right. And most of the time it is just kind of boring everyday stuff, but you always get to do some cool shit every now and then. And if you get bored enough, you just shake out a loop and have some fun, There
you go. Yeah.
It's
no doubt.
You try to make sure the boss man ain't around for most of it.
Exactly.
But you just shake out a loop and have yourself some fun.
Yep, no doubt.
So growing up where you did, I'm imagining you're a tie hard guy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've kind of converted a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I'm a tie hard guy. When it gets right down to it, if I'm gonna go catch something, I'm tied off. That way. I dally a lot too, just because of the ranch rodeo scene nowadays. It's faster, it's quicker, you can keep a cow on a short line in a ranch rodeo, and you kind of, instead of them hitting the end of it 35 foot out there, and then they're windmilling around you guys trying to heel them, or whatever, or even on the heel inside of it, you come around there, you're tied off on a 30-foot rope. Well, hell, it takes another 2 seconds to get to the end of it when they do hit the end of it. So I've tried to kind of convert a little bit just because of those reasons, not necessarily any other reason, just because it's faster, it's quicker in those ranch rodeo situations. But outside, I tie off, the majority of the time. It's just something that I grew up doing. It's something I'm very comfortable with. And a lot of times, a lot of guys will freak out, but I dally over the top of my horn knot as well. You know, I mean, if I can, and I can run up there and neck something, and I'm tied off, and I'll dally over the top of it, especially like Dr. Yerlins, if I got somebody with me that's helping, I'll dally over the top of my horn knot and get them on a short line and then kind of pop them off, you know, and let them guys heal.
It makes it so much easier to when you got them short, you know. That's one thing. Like when we're branding out here, a lot of the guys just they head and heel everything, and gotta reach out there and neck them. And everybody's packing 40 to 60 foot out here dallying on a slick horn for the most part. And I kind of grew up on rubber and tying off, and I tied off a couple times, and I don't mind it, but I'm more I like to dally. And then when I got out here, some of the ranch rodeos, they don't let you dally on rubber. So I was like, well, if I want a ranch rodeo, I guess I better figure out how the slick horn stuff works. And it's kind of fun. You know, sometimes it's not as efficient as rubber or tying hard, but it's, if you know how to slide some rope and work that line, you can neck one and let them kind of choke down at 40 foot out there, and with very little effort on your horse. And then you can just ride up and, pitch your slack and knock them down. And, and then you got an extra, 30, 40 foot that you can tie up your front legs with. And it's just, it's a different setup, but, it's kind of cool. And, but I've worked with guys that go all three ways, and, a hand is a hand is a hand. Doesn't matter if you know how to handle a rope and you know what to do. Once anybody can rope something, it's what when that rope comes tight, what are you going to do? Yeah, and, exactly. And if a guy knows how to handle his line, it just makes it easier. And you get those guys in the branding pin that'll neck one, and then you're just like you said, just windmilling at 40 foot of the line out there. Well, just ride back up into the bunch, get short, and then drag them on out so somebody can just line up behind you going to the fire and pick up heels instead of chasing them around. That's the worst part about those head and heel Brandons is if you don't have a good roping crew, man, I hate to see a calf just choke out unnecessarily, Right. Like there's some of those old cows you love to watch their eyes bulge out just because they piss you off so much. But those little calves, just like pick up some heels and let's get this over with. Yeah. And
no doubt.
But when you get some good ropers, man, it's especially like those guys that are throwing the real big fancy loops. Boy, it's fun to watch if they can can really rope. Yeah, like you get the sure enough Riata man. It's pretty cool to watch.
I bet. Yeah. I hadn't seen a whole lot of that. I hadn't been up that far north. I've been a little bit up there, but mostly for hunting and stuff. I've never been up there and worked a whole lot. But just watching those guys, nowadays you can watch them on videos and whatnot and see everything and kind of, they do some really cool stuff. And, and a lot of the guys want to try to get an argument about, oh, you're a dally man or you're a tie-on man, yada, yada, yada. I've heard some guys, mouthing the tie-on us down here in Texas, and I've heard us mouthing those guys up there, talking about, I heard a guy one night he's from up north. This is a pretty funny story. He's from up north, and he's drinking whiskey and had the flat hat on, and the buckaroo. Sure enough, the buckaroo dude packing a 60-footer,
buttoned all the way up.
He told buttoned all the way up, and he told a buddy of mine down here who's sure enough tie hard and fast, and probably packs about a 25-foot rope, and ties off on it. So he's got one coil and about a 10-foot loop, and when it goes, and he can damn sure use it, he rides good horses and he can damn sure use it. And the buckaroo guy told him, he said, man, you come up my part of the world with that 25-foot tied off hard and fast, backbone and stock. He said, you get run off in about an hour. That Texas guy, he's sitting there, he kind of looking at him, he's drinking his beer, and that buckaroo's drinking his whiskey. And he said, he said, you're probably right. He said, we probably wouldn't run you off down here, but he said, you come down here in this part of the world with that 60-footer, he said, hell, we'll send you back to the bunkhouse and pull the bucket out of the whale.
Yeah.
He said that's about all the good that 60-footer is going to do down here. You get tangled up in trees and shit. And he's like, there's a reason we use 25, 30 foot down here tied off, and there's a reason you guys use 60 a foot up there. He said, so think about it. There's a reason for everything. He said, there ain't no sense of bad mouthing me because I use 25 foot, and I ain't going to bad mouth you because you use 60 foot. We're still doing the same job. It's just in different applications.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
It's down here, I mean, it's brushy and bushy, and there's mesquite trees everywhere. And if you got 60 foot of line, 40 foot of line stuck out there, they're going to tangle themselves up, and sometimes you're running to catch something, you're headed to a freaking thicket, I mean, hell, when you hit that thicket, you can't keep a dally, you got to have both hands to ride your damn horse just to kind of keep everything untangled and not kill yourself. So, there's a reason for everything. And I'm not going to badmouth anybody. I mean, if you can use a rope, like you said, you can use a rope. If you punch cows, you punch cows, whether it be in deep South Texas or in Idaho, I mean, Montana, I don't know. It's Canada, whichever way you want to go, it just is what it is. There's reasons there's slick horns, and there's reason there's rubber. And I mean, there's an application and a use for everything. So a hand's a hand to hand, no matter where he's at, what he's doing, what he's using.
Yep.
It just, like you say, a hand's a hand no matter where he's at.
Oh, geez. Hey, didn't see you there. Before we get too much further into this episode, there's a few people that helped me keep this thing going, and I probably better tell you about them, or they might stop paying me. First and foremost, as you heard at the top of the show, we got Stetson Ranches, the title sponsor of the show. One of the best families I've ever had the opportunity to meet. And it's a pleasure to call them good friends nowadays. They're a 4th, 5th generation ranch family up in Fromberg, Montana. They focus on the two things that every ranch needs. That's horses and cattle. And those cattle are going to feed out right there on the ranch. And then they're going to head to a packing plant. Going to be harvested, and they're going to be delivered to your doorstep on dry ice for a low price every month if you sign up for the subscription package. They also sell a whole beef, half beef, all the way down to an eighth. I think the quarter and the eighth, they're charging you $6.95 a pound, which is a screaming deal. I mean, that's a really, really good deal for a quarter or eighth of a beef. I mean, that's every type of cut that you're going to get on a beef. But the really cool thing is if you don't have the freezer space for that much meat, you can sign up to get a monthly package. It's 8 to 11 pounds of beef, sorted cuts. So it's going to be hamburger, it's going to be stew meat, it's going to be some roast, and then various cuts of steak, just depending on the month. Sometimes that's going to be brisket, sometimes that's going to be ribeye. You never know. It's like winning the lottery every time, and it's going to show up at your door for $100 a month. And if you use the promo code Move Your Ass, you're going to get 20% off your first month. And it's just a great deal. They also have some of the best quarter horses around. Tina's done a really good job selecting her brood mares with bloodlines going back to foundation quarter horses such as Zanpar Bar, Two-Eyed Jack, Peppy Sand Badger, and Doc Bar, just to name a few. All said, that's going to give you a colt, and they're breeding them back to some really, really nice studs. They've got a stud off the King Ranch with a full crop coming up this spring. And those babies are going to be just big, shapy, athletic, heavy boned, the great mind to them, and they're going to be ready to go any which way you want to take them, whatever discipline that may be, and you're not going to be disappointed. All in all, Stetson Ranches just there's a great group of people. It's going to be some of the best beef you've ever ate. USDA Prime. I forgot to tell you that. But how cool is that? It's delivered right to from Stetson Ranches up in Fromberg, Montana, to your doorstep. You don't even have to lift a finger except to click buy on their website. So go check them out, StetsonRanches.com if you'd like to find out more about their horses, StetsonBeef.com if you'd like to order some meat. And remember that promo code, Move Your Ass, will give you 20% off your first month on the subscription. And make sure you let them know you heard about them through me here on Burning Daylight. Next up, we have Thunderbird Equine, Miss Jessica Pancost out of, she's now out of Sandia Park, New Mexico, down in the Albuquerque area. She is a second-generation horse trainer, third-generation rancher, and she's accepting client horses, colts, and also mules, and she's going to be focusing on vaquero-style horsemanship. And they're going to get practical ranch-type experience. They'll also gain a ton of roping experience, whether that be heading, heeling, breakaway, or just pasture roping, just general ranch roping type stuff. All the animals that she takes in, she requires a 60-day minimum. And if you bring a colt, you can expect them to be quiet, confident, and respectful, and have all the right tools to move on to any discipline you might choose. The stuff that you bring in for finishing, whether it be a horse or a mule, you can expect them to develop a harder stop, a collected frame, and precise movements through leg cues. And they'll develop the confidence to do anything you like under saddle, whether that be mounted shooting, roping, trail riding, or cattle work, or whatever. She's a hell of a hand, does a great job. She's got great references, great reviews. And at the end of the program, you'll get 5 free lessons to reacquaint yourself with your new equine partner. If you'd like to find out more, you can give her a holler, 720-205-2996, or you can give her shoot her a message on Facebook and Instagram. That's Thunderbird Equine. Next up, we've got 4T Land and Cattle, as well as Ag Insurance. They are out of Texas. Colt Tritt is the owner. He's got a fleet of trucks. I think he said he's got 7 semis. And basically, 4T Land and Cattle is going to be your go-to contractor for cattle hauling and ag insurance services. He specializes in drought insurance. And you don't have to be in Texas. He's got clients in Utah and Arizona. And from what he was telling me, those guys out west, they really do well with this drought insurance. They said it pays about 9 out of 10 years, and it really does well for him. And he's pretty excited about it. We're excited to have him on as a sponsor. So go check him out on Facebook, 4T Land and Cattle, or you can give him a holler. That's Colt Tritt, and that's 817-559-5770. 4T Land and Cattle for all your cattle hauling needs and agricultural insurance, particularly drought insurance. And then finally, and last but not least, we also got a new sponsor. You may have seen him around. Tracie Morrison. He's out of Oklahoma, and he is making all sorts of cool cowboy gear, whether it be buckles, bits, spurs. He made a silver Tracie, what do you call it? Money clip. He sent me a silver money clip. We're giving that away in the Patreon group. This if you're a Patreon subscriber, you'll be entered up to win that. And but he makes all sorts of cool cowboy gear. Like I said, he and does really, really awesome work. It's kind of your classic Texas cowpuncher style, but just really neat work. He's an old cowboy himself, kind of got banged up in a horse wreck, as you tend to do, and now he's making all this stuff on the side, kind of as a hobby. But he'd like to expand his business and maybe even be able to quit his job in town and do this full time. Either way, he's a big supporter of the show, big supporter of cowboy culture, and it's a big supporter of what I'm doing here. So I appreciate him, and you should go check him out. It's Tracie Morrison. You can find him on Facebook or Instagram. It's T_Morrison_custom silver is the handle there. But just search him on Instagram, Facebook. You'll find him. You see a whole bunch of his work there, and it's really, really good stuff. It's beautiful work, and it's prized for the working cowboys. So you're not gonna break an arm and a leg like Tracie did when he was on that horse. Just kidding, buddy. But honestly, he does really good work, and I'm glad to have him on as a sponsor. So go check him out.
Tracie Morrison, Custom Silverwork. And if you don't like hearing these ads, well, easy way to go about that is head over to patreon.com/burningdaylight. You get ad-free content. You get some bonus content. We'll do some live Q&As. We're going to start doing some UFC fights. We did one a while ago, but I think we're going to start doing that some more often. And you also get entered to win some really cool custom gear. We've given away jeans. We've given away a cinch. We've given away a snaffle bit. And we've given away some ranch ropes. And I never know what we're going to give away. But the more people that sign up and support me, the more I can give back to you guys and give away some cool stuff. And I try to make sure it's all handmade stuff because I like supporting local artists, small businesses, and the like. So if that interests you. This month we're giving away a money clip. Matt Wilson out of Oregon is also going to make something. I haven't decided what yet, but it'll be something cool. And anyhow, it's a good deal, and you help me out tremendously when you sign up. So patreon.com/burningdaylight. Now let's get back into the show. Yeah, and and then on the flip side, you got a 25-foot. Rope out here and you're tied hard and you're trailing the old bull off the mountain and he decides to bail off the side. Well, guess what? You're connected and you're going with him. But you can slide that. You got 60 foot of rope. You can kind of just parallel him and still have him caught. Once you get down to some more flat ground, then you can go ahead and dally back up and just tying hard don't work in that situation. And it's the terrain, it's the situation, and the guys that know. And like we were talking before we started recording, like you got to know your situation. You got to know or kind of figure what the outcome's going to be, and act accordingly. Like you don't go get on a colt if you're going to go gather up a whole bunch of just mean, nasty bulls. Like you don't want your brand new colt on that. I mean, there's guys that do, and then there's times where you have to make that work. But more often than not, you're like, all right, I'm going to get old Tex over here. I know he can handle it or whatever. And then we'll save the colt training for something that's not quite as intense.
You bet. It's just like me the other day. I was going to go proud through some of my cows on a lease place, and I took a colt. There wasn't any issue I wasn't going to catch a bull. I was going to go proud through some cows, and I was going to just kind of check some waters and check some mineral, and just kind of, I was just piddling. I was just prowling around. I needed to go up there and check on a deal, and so I took a colt with me and got him out, trotted around, prowled around, trained on him, and just kind of eased through my cows and checked my mineral and checked my waters and, pulled some corners up and whatnot and went home.
Hell
yeah. Yesterday I had to go catch a bull for a guy, and I caught my good horse, I caught caught one of my good horses because I had my boy who's 15 with me, and I put him on my best horse, and I caught my next best horse, and it's like, this is what, so like you say, there's an application for everything. There's a use for everything. It's just sometimes you go do something and you're like, and like, if I go help somebody around here, I say, hey, what are we doing? It's not because I want to know what we're doing. It's because I want to know what horse I need to bring. Hey, if we're going to it's going to be pretty easy and we're going to make a big shitty and, go a long ways and there's enough men, I might ride a colt, and just put some miles on him. But if a guy says, man, it's pretty nasty and them cows are pretty ringy and it's going to be, we probably have to catch something. I'm like, okay, so I bring a horse accordingly, and it is what it is. So yeah, there's an application and a use for everything. And it's, I think too, those guys that figure it out and go to figuring out what it is, they, those guys are those hands. Those guys are the guys that you want with you that when it does pop off, every time you go somewhere and a guy's riding a damn 10 or 15 day bronc and he can't help you, well, hell, there's no sense in taking him, you need somebody with you that can help you in a situation if you get in one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's faking it till you make it only goes so far. I respect the attitude behind that, and I'll figure it out. Because I'm the same way. I try to figure it out, but I also know, or I figured out over the years that like sometimes it's just good enough to sit on the fence and watch and see what the hell's going on before you just jump in the middle. Because I got drilled in my head at an early age. Like we didn't run a whole lot of cows ourselves. We just we had like 40, 50 head, but we had a lot of horses, and my dad's day worked forever, and therefore I've day worked forever. And and
you were an extra check is what you were.
Exactly. And I didn't have I had no say in it either. I hated cowboying for, growing up, because I got stuck on the colts, and I got, but I got drilled in my head at the early age. You just like, whatever you do, stay the fuck out of the way. Just
exactly.
Don't be in the way. Like try to be in a good spot. And if you're not in a good spot, get the hell out of there and sit back and watch and try to figure it out. If you
don't know what's happening and you don't understand what's fixing to happen, then you don't need to be in that situation. Get the hell out of the way, because there's somebody that does understand it, and they don't understand that you don't understand what's going on. If you can't read the situation, then get the hell out of the pen.
Yeah, exactly. And you might get barked at as you're leaving the situation, but when it all comes back to it, like they'll be like, "Hey, that was a good move. That was a good move." Yeah. Most of the time, the guys will be like, "Okay, so on this situation, next time, slide in over here, whatever, and that's how you learn. And then. If you're not in the way, you're not causing a wreck, and then you can sit back and you get like the 30,000 foot view of everything. And that's what's really cool is when growing up, is like, because like I said, a lot of time I was on a colt and I was just plow reining them around, and just I was lucky to get them to go where I wanted them to go, let alone try to chase any cows. And I hated colts for a long, long time. And then I went and helped a college buddy, and I got put on a horse that actually knew what the hell they were doing. And, and the first time I didn't have to like yank their head around to go cut back a cow, I was like, oh, holy shit, this is pretty neat. So this is what we're trying to do. All right, well, maybe this colt thing ain't so bad. But that wasn't until college before I actually got to ride a good broke horse, gathering cattle, and I've trailed a lot of cows by that point, but I'd never rode like a good broke, like finished ranch horse, and I was like, well, shit, this is pretty neat.
Yeah. And I think, I think just like what you're saying is, then you kind of have an idea about the goal that you're with the colts. You're like, okay, now I think everybody should get a chance when it's time to ride that good broke horse that they understand. I remember the first time I rode a really, really like a horse that was really willing and really broke and really like a damn good horse. It was like, oh, like, hey, this is really cool. Like, this is what I want my horses to feel like, How do you, then I got to quizzing, like, how do you get there? How do you get that? How do you put that on them? How do you make this animal
make
do
a horse?
This, Yeah. How do you make a horse? And then, just little bit by little bit, trial by error, trial by fire, you're like, okay, well, now I got a horse that he can do half of that. Now I'm going to try to improve it on this next horse, every horse that I ride, I try to improve a little bit, make a little better. And, now it's like, not saying anything, but I've got some pretty good horses that in my mind, they're pretty good horses, compared to what I used to ride. And so it's like, cool when you got 3 or 4 head of horses that you don't have to go plow rein one around, or one that actually look at a cow and go, oh, and help you at least start to move with that cow, or, raid from that cow or get to that cow or whatever the situation is. It's like, man, it makes your job so much easier. It makes your job so much more fun. It makes your job so much more delightful. It's like, hell yeah.
And then the more of those horses you start to work, like you get to see a pattern. Like for a while, it's kind of buck, hump up, and just be a piss head, and then they get their feet under themselves, they figure out how to travel, Next thing you know, it's a cow. What the hell's that? Oh my God, it's going to eat me. And then you're like, well, no. You get them, and then it's just like charge. Let's eat those cows. And then you're like, whoa. This is not a cutting competition.
Yeah.
So then, and then it's all of a sudden one day it like kind of clicks for them, and they're like, oh. And then next thing you know, they're moving with you, and they're reading cattle, and they're making those little subtle movements to bump them back into the herd instead of just trying to cut them back.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it's cool when you're, especially like if you're holding roe deer, or you're just like you're pushing a big bunch through the gate and you're holding roe deer right there. It's those old cows will find the weak link almost immediately.
Always.
You'll find one just pop her head up, and it's like a little periscope. She's and then she's right there. And if that guy's not worth his salt, or if he's just inexperienced, she's going to squirt by him, and they're going to be about 3 steps too late trying to cut her back. But if you know what you're looking for, and you're looking for that old cow, you just shade your horse over about 2 steps, and she'll circle right back into the herd. And a good horse will see that too.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you're teaching that horse what to look for, because you spot it first, and so you show that horse, hey, I'm going to move over here. Well, that horse picks up on all that little subtle stuff as well, and so then down the road, you don't even have to. That horse picks it up, and kind of, if you're paying attention and you're in tune with your horse, then you can feel that, and you look around. Like me nowadays, I can be sitting there looking off, and I feel my horse do something, and I'm like, what's he looking at? I know he's looking at something that I need to be looking at. So they'll tell you before the cow tells you, or as soon as the cow tells you, a good horse will tell you as well. And if you'll listen to them both, you can set yourself up and make yourself look like a damn sure top hat, because you're like, you're one of those guys that now that I talk about. So, man, you look up and that guy's always in the right spot. Those are guys I like packing with me. You look up and like, where the hell is he? And then you look back and like, oh, there he is. Cool. That's some buck's hand right there. Like he was in the right spot at the right time. How do you know that? Well, he knew that because of experience. He knew that because it's funny. I just told somebody this weekend on Saturday, we were visiting about it. And I said, that damn cow could have wrote that some bitch a letter, and he still wouldn't have been able to read it. He still didn't know that cow was fixing to run off. She could have wrote him a damn letter. He had no idea. And they're like, do what? And I'm like, it's what I call reading this cow, reading the situation. I'm like, she could have wrote him a letter, and he still wouldn't have known that cow was fixing to run off. And some people they just have a little knack for it. Some people read animals and cattle, horses, dogs. They read it very well. Yep. Some people have been around it their whole life and they still can't read it. It's like, how the hell?
Yeah, there's some people just don't know.
How the hell do you not see what's fixing to happen? I mean, that cow's been telling you for 5 minutes she's fixing to run off.
Yeah.
Like,
she's tried 3 other guys already.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude, pull your head out of your ass. Come on. But and some people, some people are natural athletes and some people aren't. They got to work their ass off to get there. So I mean, it's just something I guess that some people got and some people don't. It shows up real fast.
Yeah, they like I said, that old cow will find the weak link immediately, and just a little. I'm right here.
Exactly. Yeah. And most of the time it's me. I'm like, get
I know.
Somewhere else.
It's I don't know how many times I've been on that end of the deal, and then you're just like, it was usually on a colt. So then you're like, oh, now we got to go, and they're running the opposite way. And you're son of a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no doubt.
But it's all a learning process, and like there's always those guys that just they like you said, they never do figure it out. The bad part about those guys is like they never do figure out when to quit cowboying either, because they're 70 years old still getting beat at the roe deer, and you're like, man,
still in the damn way.
Yeah, and you're just like, man, you should have retired 50 years ago, but they just keep going, and so that's a quality in and of itself, because sometimes you just need a warm body. And
exactly.
Typically those guys will do just about anything you want to on the ground. So they're sometimes a commodity to have.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure.
Yeah. So what's what do you got going on in the future? I know you're involved with Schaefer Ranch. I know you're part owner and Bison Union. How much have you been around the actual bison that Bert's got up there? Have you worked around them much?
Yeah, a little bit. My first experience around them was pretty damn funny experience. There was about he'd moved to Buffalo to a ranch, and they got out. Of course, there was 8 or 9 cows that got out, and a bull that got out, and they got over on the neighbor's deal. Anyways, I was coming up there, and he said, "Throw your saddle in," and he said our buffalo got out. We got them stopped, or they're on a place over here about 4 miles from where they're supposed to be. And the guy that owns the country said we can come in there and get them, And so I'm like, okay. Well, there was a couple. The guys had some horses up there, so when I went up, I threw my saddle in, and I went up there. Hung out for a week or two for some business, and so we went out there. And we were gonna get these buffalo. They had them in a little old trap. The guy had them in a trap, and like I say, there were 6 or 8 cows and a bull. And I never been around buffalo much, except for like in the cutting world, where they train cutters on them, and so 1 or 2 here and there. And I knew they were pretty damn ringy, pretty wild, and so we get there and. They're gonna try to. Of course, the bison will follow a feed truck a little bit, but where this country is, you can't get a feed truck in there. And so what they're wanting to do is they're going to use ATVs along with me and 3 or 4 other guys horseback. We're going to try to just keep these things going in to where they need to go back. Yeah. And then once they hit this little old 2-track road, they can pick them up with a feed truck. But the first initial 1.5 miles was just through rough country. It was right there north of Sheridan. So it wasn't terribly rough, but it was pretty good canyons and some hills right there.
Yeah.
And so they go to the backside of this trap. We're in the front side of this trap. They go to the backside of this trap, and they let the fence down in the corner, and these buffalo leave. And I mean, when these son bitches leave, they left like. The guys horseback were way behind, and I was riding the horse from up there, and he was kind of fat and out of shape. And I'd never been on him before, so I didn't know nothing about this horse. And he's not a bad horse by any means whatsoever, but we started across there, and I mean, I'm hoofing it along there in a pretty good little old clip, trying to keep up with these cows or these bison, and they're leaving, and I mean, they leave me like leave.
Yeah.
And I fall off in this canyon, and it's pretty steep, pretty gnarly, and I finally find my way out of it, and I climb up out of it. I get back up on top, and all us horseback guys are like, I finally trotted over to another guy. I'm like, where the hell did buffalo go? Or bison? And he's like, hell, I don't know. He's like, they left. Left. So anyways, I get on my phone and I call Bert, and I'm like, hey, where the hell did them bison go? And Bert's like, shit, they're already like 2 miles down here. We got them hemmed up in a corner with some ATVs and a feed truck. And I'm like, wow, they run off and left us. So anyways, they start dragging them back down the fence with this feed truck and the UTVs and ATVs. And they're like 2 miles from where we are. And they finally get there, and I finally start seeing them. And of course, they're a little, the bison are a little run, out of air. They've been a long ways. And so they get down there, and they're in a pretty good little old trot, and a long trot, what I would call them. And the guys are trying to keep everything out. Well, I'm now pointing these cattle or these bison. I don't even know what the hell we're talking about, but pointing these bison. And I kind of have an idea. They've already told me where we're going. And so I'm pointing these bison, and I'm trying to keep them. And there's this big canyon off to my right. And knowing that these bison are probably going to try to fall back off in that canyon, it's like, so I got them mashed up there pretty good against the fence and behind the feed truck. And this one guy hollers at me. He said, "What's that cow? What's that cow? What's that cow?" Well, this cow comes running out of there, and I don't have any idea. Well, she's on the hook now, and now she runs at me and tries to hook this horse, and I'm like, shit, like, okay, So I kind of get away from her and get away back off of her a little bit and kind of keep everything situated, and we're like, I'm in a short lope now trying to keep up with everything, and these bison they're just long trotting along like nobody's business. Like it's no big deal to them.
No, yeah.
And this old bay horse I'm riding, he's got the thumps and he's hot, and I'm like, well, shit, that's all I can do is, try to stay up here in front of them, keep them from falling back off in that canyon. And sure enough, we get to that pretty gnarly canyon, and that one cow that came out and tried to hook me, she tries to break and run off down that canyon, and I get her bent and just get my horse in her way, more or less. I mean, it ain't like she respected me. I just kind of got in her way, and she turned and hooked at me as she was going by, and turned and went back to the fence and went back to the feed truck, and everything kind of followed right along with her. She's kind of the lead cow, of course, and the bull was in the back. Well, that lead cow, she bends around there, and I get them kind of bent around the corner, and they go down this long lane, kind of fenced off lane, and they get down there and they get them they kick them in the pasture where they're supposed to be, back where they're supposed to be. And so everybody's hoorahing, about, damn, that cow about hooked you, them things are mean. I'm like, yeah, no doubt, but it wasn't anything different really. They can travel a lot further. I figured that out. They can damn sure travel a lot further than a cow, because a cow has to stop and get some air. Them bison, they just keep going, I mean, it's like an elk.
Yeah, and they just step on out too. I haven't been around them much, but I've watched them just on the side of the road. They were cruising, and I guess those things can run about 30 miles an hour for quite a ways too.
And like I say, a cow will run short distance kind of like that as well, but they run out of air and they're going to quit, Them bison, they don't feel like that. To me, they didn't ever run out of air. They just kept on. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of like watching elk when they're right here, and then the next 5 minutes they're going over a big rise over there. Like, damn, how'd they get over there already? But it is kind of that's the different part of them. But other than that, I mean, I hadn't been around them a whole lot except for that one time, and we moved a few of them around a little bit, and they're damn sure. You better kind of watch them. I mean, they will mow you down if you're in the wrong spot.
Oh, for sure. I'd like to cut open a bison one of these days and just take a look at their lungs, because cows' lungs are pretty undersized for how big they are, and it's kind of funny across breeds. Like if you get like a straight Brahma, they're going to have probably like 15-20% bigger lungs than your Angus cow is going to have, but that's why those suckers can run so far, man. I mean, you get like a straight Brahma that just wants to run. I mean, you better have a hell of a horse to keep up with him.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's like I say, they got to have a hell of a lung capacity, no doubt about it. It's like, I did notice when them things go to getting hot, they'll run their tongue out there, but they can keep rolling, like a cow sticks her tongue out, they're done, I mean, they ain't going nowhere. They're smoked, they're hot, they're fine.
They're going to fight you, and then they're going to lay down.
Then they're going to lay down, exactly. Bison, they stick their tongue out, all they're doing is like sticking their tongue out, going. Yeah. We back?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit, not much. I hadn't had a whole lot of experience with the bison, but a little bit.
Well, yeah. Bert sure loves those things, though, don't he?
Yeah, he loves them. He is all about the American bison.
Yeah. Which more power to him. I like cows myself, but more power to you. It's pretty cool watching that deal. He's kind of I've listened to him several times over the years on podcasts, and he's kind of a moody, goofy fella, but he sure seems to get a lot of joy out of them bison.
Yeah, no doubt he does.
So that's cool. So what's what do you got going forward? What's Buster Fryerson's dream?
Oh man, I've been asked that a little bit here the last few years, and my dream is I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it with who I want to do it with, and not have to worry about going to a 9 to 5, 8 to 5, 6 to 5 job. I want to be, I don't have to have $1 million in the bank. That's just not me. I don't have to have a big house. I don't have to have a big fancy car. I don't have to have the nicest of anything. I mean, I grew up on a dirt road in a little 2-bedroom house with 2 sisters and my mom and dad, and we didn't have much. We had what we needed. And, I still live like that today. I don't I want to be able to go and do what I want to do and not have to worry about paying my bills. And my bills aren't very high. My bills aren't very, I don't have a whole lot, but I do have a lot of freedom. I have a lot of joy and happy in doing what I get to do. And, I've done the 9 to 5. I've worked for somebody. I ran a ranch for 16 years, and I quit them, I guess, last June and went off on my own. I'd put together a few cows and kind of got to where I could maybe, make it and not starve to death, or at least I thought I could. And maybe I made it a year now and I ain't starved to death. So I think I'm doing okay.
I was saying, you don't look super ganted up either. So you must be doing decent anyway. You don't look like you're strung up in the flank yet. So
no, not yet. But man, that's my dream. I just want to go around and, do what I like to say, do what I want to do and get to meet people and see different country and be able to punch cows and whatever the hell else I want to do on that day, and I've been very blessed to be able to do that. I've stayed very busy since I have kind of went out on my own, either with my stuff or helping day trashing around and, selling some horses and riding some horses and whatnot. So I'm happy. I work all the time, but I don't consider it work when you get to do what you want to do. It's like, hell, I'm kind of like Boots. I wake up every day going, shit, I get to wonder what I get to do today.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I do the same job every day at the feedlot, but when you're cowboying, you might do the same stuff every day, but there's always something a little different. There's always something that makes the day just a little exciting. And cool thing about being where you're at, you're in basically quarter horse capital of the world. You've got access to some of the finest horse flesh that the world has ever seen down in that part of the world.
Yeah, no doubt for sure.
There's some,
and that's cool. I trade. I shouldn't say I trade a lot of horses. I sell some horses, and I get to ride some good colts. I get access to some good bloodlines and good horse flesh. And, some of them wouldn't fit a lot of guys up north because they're not big enough and they're not stout enough to pull all them mountains and, do that kind of deal. But for where I'm at and what I do, 14-3, 15 hand, 1,150, 1,250 pound horses is exactly what I try to ride, These quarter horse and the reining horses and the bloodlines that are around here, they makes it so much easier, to train. Those horses are very smart, they're very athletic, they're very cowy, and a horse can snap along pretty quick. Where a lot of them big ranches, even around here, them old kind of bloodlines, they make good 7 and 8 year old horses. Yeah, but hell, I don't want to ride a sumbitch 5 or 6 years before I ride it before he turns good. I want to. And I don't want to ride a 2-year-old and mash the hell out of him either. When they're 4 or 5 years old, them horses ought to be kind of coming into their prime, in my opinion. Yeah. And, making horses where you can go and do anything on them. By the time they're 7, 8 years old, to me, them summitches ought to be finished, in my opinion. You ought to be able to go do whatever you want to do, whether it's punch cows on them, drag calves on them, put your hand down, sort a cow on them, run rope one around the neck, run rope one around the feet, run rope one around the horns, whatever you want to do, back in the box. Those horses ought to be able to do everything. And then you ought to be able to throw your kid on them, and let a kid ride them. But, I don't. So, the horse flesh around here is just unbelievable. They've been breeding them and training on them for the last 45, 50, 60 years around here. So it is the quarter horse capital of the world, in my opinion,
I think so. So it's like Weatherford, Decatur, that area. There's just so many good horses down there. It's insane.
Oh, no doubt.
It's insane.
It is a cool area to get to kind of hang out in and get to know different people and different folks, and build relationships with. And, I have guys call me and say, hey, we got one over here, a gelding over here that ain't going to make an open horse. Would you be interested in looking at him? Like, you bet, and those horses, they've got to, go over there and try them out. And this somebody will work for what I want, and so that's cool in itself.
Those reject cutters make some damn good ranch horses,
Oh, no doubt. You know, I mean, that's the whole, you know, and that, what's funny is like 15 years ago, you could slip around here and get those horses bought for, you know, not say a little bit of nothing, but you could get them bought for $3,500, $4,500 for a 3-year-old that wasn't going to make an open horse. And, you know, I was doing that quite a bit. And then I'd take them and ride them for a year and a half and kind of put a little rope on them, you know, where you could go rope something, drag calves on them, go, you know, just do general ranch work. And you can turn around and make a little money on them. You know, nowadays, them horses, they're hard to come by, you know, for $3,500, $4,500. Hell, you can't hardly buy a damn started 2-year-old for 10,000. You know, I mean, it's the horse market has gone up, no doubt about it, and which is good for us. You know, I mean, it's good for the cowboy. It's good for the guy that has those horses and can put something on those horses. You know, I mean, it's very good. But it's one of them deals too. You better save your pennies, because when you go buy that 3-year-old, it ain't gonna cost you $2,500 no more. It's gonna cost you $75.
Right. That's exactly right. I mean, if you want cheap horses, you got to go get some shitters off the res or get a Mustang, and good luck. And I mean, you know, they can make some good horses, but it's not going to be as easy.
Yeah. And in my opinion, I mean, it's one of them deals too, where I'll spend a little more money and go buy those better fleshed horses or better quality horses, you know, because it makes my job that much easier. And those shitters that try to buck you off every day and paw you and kick you and you can't shoe them and they've set back every time you tie them up and they're just dinks. Man, you ain't going to ride them horses anyways. It's miserable riding them bastards. And I'm at that age now. It's kind of like what you talk about when you were younger. You had to ride those because that's what they gave you to ride. And you didn't have any other choice. If you wanted to go, that's what you rode. And I was in the same situation, and now it's like, hell with that. I'm going to go buy me a better colt. If I can only buy one a year, I'm going to buy me one good one, because this next year it makes my job that much more enjoyable, and that horse is that much more better because I enjoy riding him, because I can ride him and I will ride him. And those dinks, I'm like, I get rid of them now. I'm like, hell with that. If they don't fit my deal and they don't fit my program, I'll take a loss on them and get rid of them and go try to find me another one, because it's just miserable trying to make that thing work.
Well, speaking of your program, what do you got going on Labor Day weekend?
Labor Day, you know, I don't even know, to be honest with you.
Let's stay in touch on that. We got a horse clinic up in Fromberg, Montana that we're putting on. There's a fella by the name of Dan Hartman, who is I think it was his great granddaddy was one of the original Texas punchers that trailed cattle up there. And this guy grew up just riding the rough string. Like he has saved more horses from the dog food plant than a lot of people out there. I mean, he's made his living just riding nasty horses, and he was taught the old school way, 4-foot them, lay them down, tie them down, whatever. It's kind of brutal, but you got to remember these horses have been through. I mean, so many people have tried them and failed, and so Dan does what needs to be done. And then we got Chance Hill. He's out of Idaho now, and he's a horse trainer, really good at finishing horses and starting colts, whatever. But he's going to work on just like kind of fine tuning horses, and then I'm going to put on a little kind of a feedlot based or like inside sorting, cattle handling, horsemanship clinic. It'll be we're going to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Sunday afternoon, we're going to do like a roe deer roping, just ranch roping type of deal, just for fun. And it's going to be a cool deal. So if you can, you're more than welcome to come up. I'll cover your spectator fee for you.
Hell yeah, I'd love to. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, let's stay in touch on that. And if you got about another 20 minutes, we'll switch over to my Patreon show, and we'll talk some wild cowboy stories. And if anybody wants to hear it, you're going to have to pay for it. So that's how it is.
No, let's do it. Yeah, that'd be good.
Cool. So,
Listen up, I've rode this mountain 70 years I've been alive. Choked on rocks and rattlesnakes, a wonder I've survived. Don't think I haven't had a bronc like you, try me. Every time he thinks a monster is hiding around a tree. Well, the monster's on your back, son, better try to understand. The cowboy that you're fighting now was born to this here land. One day you'll learn your scars and all the fearlessness you lack. Don't worry about the things that you can't see. The monster's on your back. Now hear this. I've rode through howling hell and wind and snow and rain. I am oblivious to misery and pain. And that iron in your gizzard, it will never go away. So long as you got work to do today. And there's a monster on your back, son, get your guts up off the trail. We got a job to do and I promise we won't fail. One day you'll learn your scars and all the fearlessness you lack. Don't worry about that ornery Charlie bull. The monster's on your back. You think that if you buck me off that I won't get back on. You could stomp me into the ground and I'd be gone. You think that this old man ain't tough like he once used to be. Try me one more time and you will see. There's a monster on your back, son, better start to understand. The cowboy that you're fighting now